Alright, hey guys, and welcome. This is going to be my coding video. I don't know how long this video is going to be. I don't want it to be too long, but I guess we'll see. So what I wanted to do for this video was something networking related. I think that would be kind of interesting for you guys. I wasn't actually planning on adding this update, but I was going to add it eventually. So what I'm going to do is a teleport command, so people can teleport around the map to different locations, and I could even do like teleporting to other players and stuff, but I'll see what I have time for. So I just want to give a brief explanation on exactly how my game works with the networking and all. So I don't know if you guys are familiar with Eclipse, but these are projects. So since I'm using LibGDX, I have the Android and the desktop, but those don't really matter. Really, all my code is in the core. So I have all this code, all the packages and stuff for the client, and then the server has its own code. So really, when you're making an MMO, you're actually making two programs. One is a server and one's a client. And I'll kind of explain how they communicate with each other. I'll do a little diagram for you guys. Let's open Pinta real quick. Alright, so it's pretty straightforward, I have to say. Okay, so one side is the client, and the other side's the server. So let's draw a line in the middle. Well, that looks weird. Let me retry that. Okay, just go like that. Okay. So basically what happens in an MMO or any multiplayer game really is there's a server and a client. So how they communicate is they send packets to each other. So let's represent the packets with these little orange boxes. I don't know why it's being so weird like that. I don't know. Anyways, so it's the little orange boxes. So when this client has to send data to the server, it'll put stuff in the packets. So it'll put variables, so like integers, so like numbers, or strings, which is like text and stuff like that, and then it'll send it right over to the server like that. And then when the server gets the packet, it's going to get the variables, and then depending on what the variables are, it's going to do something, and that's basically how it works. Same with the server. If the server sends a packet to the client, sends it over to the client, it fills it up with data, so variables, then the client will have the packet and it'll use the data and do whatever it's supposed to do. That's pretty much the basics. So I'll kind of show you guys how that works. So right here, I'm in the server project. You see I have all my packets for different things. So I have login, player data, so that's like data that the server sends to the client. Map data, so it has like the arrays and everything, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I guess what we'll make is, well, I'll show you guys real quick what a packet looks like inside. So basically there's no code at all. It's just variables. You're declaring variables, and that's pretty much all. And then you have a handler that when the packet is received from the client, it'll handle the data. So we saw the login packet. So see what the server does with the login packet. So first it's going to check the player file class to see if the player exists. If it doesn't, it's going to set the validity variable in the packet to username non-existent and then send it back to the client. So when the client gets it, it's going to say username has not been registered, so go register. And there's a whole bunch of different scenarios like that. And then finally, else, if everything is all good and it checks out, it'll create the login file, it'll check if the password's correct, broadcast a message to everyone saying, hey, this player's logged in, and add the player to the player list. So that's kind of the idea of packets. So we'll add some sort of teleport packet. I'm not 100% sure how I'm going to do it just yet. I guess we'll see. Okay, so right, so we'll have, say, client teleport packet. Oh, so I put in the handler section. Just change the package. Packets. Alright, so it's here. Alright, so the variables that we need to send from the server to the client when the client teleports would be so put a pose variable, so position, make it public, position, pose. I'm pretty sure that's yes, a map number. Actually, the way I'm going to do it, we won't need the map number, at least not just yet. So let's import the position class. That's a class that I created myself for handling position in the game. There are several position classes, but I decided to make my own because I had like specific needs that weren't in the other classes. So let's create the handler for it. I don't think that the server is actually going to receive teleport packets. I'm not 100% sure, maybe it will. So no, handler, client teleport handler. But we'll at least put the code in here for sending a teleport packet. So public static void create and send, and the data it'll need is just the position. Okay, so it'll create a new client teleport packet, packet equal to new client teleport packet, and packet will set the position, so pose is equal to pose. So what it's going to do, it's creating a new packet, and then it's getting the position variable in the packet and setting it to the position here. And then now we're going to send it. Networking is just another class that I had. So send TCP packet and connection ID. I'll put it here. Connection ID. So now when I want to create and send a packet, a teleport packet, it's going to require me to input a position and a connection ID. What a connection ID is, an ID number that every player has. So it kind of replaces IP address. So just say, I don't know, like a player has a connection ID of 4. So then when I do this, it's going to send it to the player with a connection ID of 4. I mean the client with a connection ID of 4. That's pretty much how that works. Okay. So one thing, since I'm using CryoNet, I need to register all the packet classes. So I'll do that. Cryo.register client teleport packet.class. Okay, that should be good. Alright, so now the client needs the packet as well. So copy it over. Paste. Some errors. It's just here. Change the package for the import. Alright, and now I have to go into the networking and the client as well and register the packet. You also need to set up the listener. I'll do that in a second. I'll create the handler first though. Cryo.register client teleport packet.class. If you plan on using CryoNet, one helpful tip that is basically necessary if you want it to work is when you're registering. By the way, you have to register packets to send them. When you're registering, the server and the client have to register all the classes in the exact same order. So they can't be in a different order or else it'll just crash and it just won't work. So yeah, that's that. Okay, create a handler. Okay, so this time it'll actually handle the packet. Being a bit clumsy today. Okay. So public static void handle packet client teleport packet. Okay, and it won't be sending in a packet, so I won't even create a method for that. So right now all the player data for the client player is saved in a class called client player, and all the variables are static. So yeah, I'm just going to set the position of the player to packet.pose. Pose and type packet. I thought it was there. Pose. Wait, hold on. Whoops, I misspelled this. Okay, I understand what's going on. Alright, so rename compilation unit to that. So it's going to change the class name, and now I need to import the packet, and it should all work perfectly now. Yep. So yeah, that's basically how you handle a packet. All we're really missing now is to send the command. Close all these classes. So basically how messaging works on the server is the client sends a message packet. I'll show you guys real quick what that looks like. Sends a message packet to the server, and all it has is a string with a message, and then the server handles it. I'll show you guys what that looks like. Message handler. So basically what happens, handles the packet. If the message starts with a slash, a dot, or an exclamation mark, it's basically going to say it's a command and then handle it as a command. But if it doesn't, then it's going to just modify it a little bit, the message, and then broadcast it to all the players, just like typing in a regular message. So how commands work is the handle command method. So there's the command string, and then there's the arguments that follow it, and then there's a connection ID. So the command string is the first string after the dash. So just say you do the /help command, command string would be help, and then if you do like the page numbers 2, that would be the first argument in here. So as you can see here, that's basically how it works. It checks if the command string is equal to help, and if it is, it's going to make sure that the argument length is 1, and then it's going to show different pages of the help menu depending on the value of arg2. So yeah, just add another command. So else if command dot equals ignore case. So it's not going to take case into account. So if the person enters a command with capital numbers, it'll do the same thing. So TP or command dot misspelled command dot equals ignore case teleport alright, so now it's going to check if the command is equal to teleport or TP, and then it'll do stuff. So I think what we're gonna do is just teleport to another player for now, because I don't want to do all that stuff with like handling the player teleporting into a collidable block. Tile. I'm gonna figure that all another time. That's something I want to do. It's on my to-do list, but I'll just do a player for now. I think that'll be a lot easier and make more sense. So okay, so it's got to make sure that args.length is equal to 1. So it's going to make sure that there's at least one argument after /TP. Sorry about that. So what it's going to do is going to make sure that the arg length is equal to 1. So it's going to make sure that the player sending the command adds a username after, and if the player doesn't, then it's going to say a message to the player saying like, oh, you didn't input a player name or whatever. So else if args.length is less than 1. So if all they did was /TP, P refers to the player, by the way, that's sending the message. Send message. So I'm going to send the player a message saying not enough arguments. Use this format /TP username. And yep. And also we need to check for one more thing. That's args.length is more than 1. So if there are too many arguments, p dot send another message and R. Oh, you might notice I'm putting an and R in front. That's to make it red. Yeah, that makes the text red. Too many arguments. Use this format. /TP username. Alright, it's basically the same thing. It's just saying that there's too many arguments this time. So what we'll do first is we'll just save the string of the username of the player that he wants to teleport to. So string player to TP2. It looks a bit weird. It's fine. Args, and then we get the first argument. By the way, if you're new to programming, I just want to say, if you're accessing a variable from an array, the first one is always 0. So just say the length will always tell you how many arguments there are in there, but the first argument is always indexed as 0. I guess you'll figure it out on your own eventually, but just a quick little tip. Adds a player to TP2. So what I'll do now is I'll get the player list. No, first I'll do an if statement. If player list dot get player by username, and then player to TP2 is equal to null. I'll do not equal to. So basically what I did is I'm accessing the player list. So that's a list of people who are connected to the server, and I'm getting a player object by using their username, and I'm checking that I'm checking if it's null. So if it's null, which means it doesn't exist, that means that a player with that username is not connected to the server. So I'm asking if it's not null, so if there is a player with that username connected to the server. And if there isn't, so else, I'm going to send a message to the player. So player.send message, and R, no player with that username is connected. Alright, so it's going to send a message saying that username that you used, well, it doesn't actually exist. No one has that username who's logged on right now. So sorry about that. So if it isn't equal to null, so if there is a player with that username online, it'll use client teleport handler dot create and send p dot get connection ID. Okay, I'll explain this in a second. Player list dot position pose equal to player list dot. Actually, I'm going to make this much easier. Instead of using the string, I'm going to access a player. I don't know why I didn't do that in the first place. Alright, so basically what it's doing right now is... Sorry, I kind of switched like that. Okay, I'll explain now. It's going to make a player variable for the player that you want to connect to, and it's going to get that player by checking the player list. So whether the player is null or not, it's still going to get a player. But if it is null, it's going to check if it is null, and if it isn't, then it'll get the position of the player and everything. And if it is null, it's going to send the message. I hope you guys understood that. It might have been a bit confusing. But yeah. Okay, so player list dot, no, it's going to be player to tp 2 dot get pose. So import this, Control-Shift-O. That's just a quick way. And pose to tp2. Actually, what I'm going to do to make this a bit better is I'm not actually going to use the pose itself. I'm going to use get x and then player to tp 2 dot get to tp2. Oops. Okay, I'll just create the new pose. So new position. I was trying to do a bit of a shortcut there, but I guess that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't seem to let me. So get pose dot get y. The reason why I'm doing that is because if I just got the exact position of the player, it won't just get the tile position, it will get the position down to the pixel, and that's exactly what I don't want. I want it just to be the tile position, so that the player won't be like randomly in the middle of two tiles when he teleports. Just say the other player is moving while he teleports to him. Okay, and then player move handler dot. Okay, I'm gonna have to fix that eventually, not right now though. Player move packet. Wow, okay, that's kind of dumb. I'm gonna switch that right away. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm going to send a packet to all the players that are on the same map as the player who's teleporting, and it's going to tell them that the player who teleported has a new position, and there it is, so display the player being at that position. So that's pretty much a necessary step. But since I'm cleaning up the code, I just noticed something that's kind of annoying, so I'm going to fix it now. Well, because I don't even think it'd be possible for me to do this without fixing it. So create and send. And I'll just switch this networking dot. Oh, I didn't even think about that. Okay. Yeah, there's different ways to send packets. You can send it with UDP or with TCP. UDP is faster, but it's not as reliable, so sometimes the packets won't reach the destination, and TCP is more reliable. So for teleporting, I want to use TCP for sure, because I want to make sure the packet gets to the destination. I don't really care as much about the speed, I care more about the packet actually reaching its destination. Because generally, a player move packet uses UDP, and it just constantly sends the player move packets, so it doesn't matter if one's missed, it'll compensate when the next one gets sent and received. So I'll create Public static void create and send TCP. So it'll send differently. It'll send with TCP rather than UDP. So I'll just keep the other one to send. I don't really need to change that, it's fine. So the information I'm going to need is basically just a player and a connection ID. Int. Okay, so now it's going to create a new player, move packet. Packet is equal to new player move packet. Alright, so player move packets have several variables. They have a direction and position, whether the player is swimming or not, and a username. So packet.pose is equal to player dot get pose. I'm going to just switch this to the player. I'm going to try to avoid using just one letter variable names. Oops. Oh, packet dot direction is equal to player dot get direction. Packet dot swimming is equal to player dot is swimming. Packet dot username is equal to player dot get username. So it's basically adding all the player data to the packet, and that actually made me realize that I'm not changing enough information about the player when he teleports. So I need to also update his whether he's swimming or not and his direction. So networking dot send TCP as in the packet with a connection ID, and there you go. So we're done that code. Now create and send TCP, and the variable we'll pass for player is P, and that's basically it. Okay, so we can't just update this. Actually, I didn't even update the position of the player on the server, so I have to do that as well. Okay, I think I just noticed something there. Sorry, I'm kind of distracted. Anyways, p.set pose equal to pose to tp 2 p.set swimming, so whether the player is swimming or not, player to tp 2 dot is swimming, so whether the player is swimming or not, and p dot set direction is equal to player to tp 2 dot get direction. Alright, we're almost done, guys, and we'll be able to test it out. Hopefully there's not too many bugs. So yeah, that's good, and the position and the player. Yeah, I think it's pretty good. I don't know, I guess it should work. Oh, I need to set the teleport handler. I set it up on the client, I believe. I'm pretty sure I did. So I set up the handler, right? So it sets the position. The only thing I didn't set up is the listener for it. So the way that CrowdNet works is you have a listener. So if you're new to programming or Java, a listener is basically something you set up, and when an event happens, so when something happens, it'll run the code inside the listener. So what this listener does is it checks constantly if there's a new packet that's being received, and if there is, well, then it's gonna be like, oh great, so there's the connection of where we got the packet from, connection information, and here's the packet, so the object. So basically what we need to do is check what type of packet it is, because right now it's saved in an object variable. So the way you do that is, well, if statement, of course. So P is the packet, instance of client teleport packet. Alright, good. So client teleport packet. Now handler dot handle packet, and it'll handle P client teleport packet. Alright, so basically what this does is it checks if P, the object, is an instance of client teleport packet. What the instance of operation does is it checks if it's an object of that class. So just say you do is 5 an instance of the integer class. I don't know if you can actually do that in Java, but that would be a way of checking if 5 is actually a number. Since it's just an object, it can really be anything, so it can have a string. So it'd be like checking, is the word hi an integer? And then if it isn't, well, it's going to be like, well, it isn't, and the code in here won't be run. But if the object here is an integer, it will be run. So right now what we're doing is checking if the object here is a client teleport packet, and if it is, it's going to send the packet to the handler, and it's going to do what it has to do. I think it's done actually, so let's just try it out real quick. So what I need to do is export the server, export kernel jar, finish. Yeah, override it. Alright, so let's start up the server. One thing that's great with Linux is, well, my server pretty much only works on Linux because I use a lot of ANSI codes. And I'm using Ubuntu right now, so it's just like perfect. I can just test on it and everything, and it works. Alright, so we run the server. And we'll run the client. Hopefully it works. I was doing some adjustments before to the client, and I'm not 100% sure text boxes and stuff like that will work. Guess we'll kind of see. It's taking a while to load. Computer's being just a bit slow right now. It's been on for a while. I might have to reboot it soon. Alright. Whoa. That lag though. Alright, I'm just going to pause the recording real quick and try to make it a bit faster. Okay, no, it seems like it's fine now. So John. Okay, as you can see, there's some bugs with the text boxes and everything. Right, so that's all working. So let's try /TP. Oh, there's no players online. Let's just try a random name to see if that thing works. Let's see, no player with that username is connected. Great, so that works. Let's connect another player. And we'll see how that works. Run! Okay, what? Alright, sorry about that. So let's just register a new account real quick. We'll call him Test Guy. Make his password something simple. Okay. Alright, Test Guy joined the game. So now me, John, I want to teleport to Test Guy. He looks pretty cool. So let's try it. Whoa. Okay, let's try with Test Guy. By the way, I'm having a lot of issues with the chat. I'm working on it this update. I didn't even start working on the chat yet. I've been doing a bunch of other stuff for the game right now. Oh boy. So I think that passing in player names is kind of an issue. Alright, just let me check the code real quick. See if maybe there's some adjustments I can make. Whoa. Okay, I'm just gonna pause the video real quick. Alright, hey guys, I'm back. Yeah, I really just couldn't figure out why it didn't work. Maybe it had to do with a bunch of issues with the chat box and everything. Anyways, they'll all be fixed by the end of the week, and I guess this will be fixed too, just by fixing the other things. I also tried doing it through the server, so the TP command actually works through the server. So TP, just like player names, and yeah. So I added that to the server just to test it, and it didn't seem to work either. It'll probably take me a little while to figure it out. But yeah, guys, thanks for watching. I hope you liked the video. Might have been a bit complicated at some parts, and sorry about the crappy ending. Like, it doesn't even work what we tried. But at least it gave you guys like a glimpse on what development of Archipelo was kind of like for adding different commands and stuff like that. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want to watch more videos like this, or you want to see devlogs of Archipelo or stuff like that, just subscribe, and if you like the video, please leave a like. It's really appreciated. Also in the description I have Facebook, Twitter links. I also have Teamspeak. So if you guys have Teamspeak, you can talk to me on there. I'm usually on around 5 PM to 6 PM on weekdays. And I have a website, vediogames.net, as I'll also be in the description. So yeah, see you guys next time. Can't guarantee it, but next time around I'm probably gonna have release video what is Archipelo, and then I'll release a devlog for the big bug fix that I'm working on right now. So yeah, see you guys until then. Bye.